Hey you guys, today we're back to our regularly scheduled program and we're going to talk all about LECA and the 3 different ways that we're growing with it here at our greenhouse. As you guys know, we're big fans of LECA here. We really haven't found anything that grows plants as fast as LECA and prevents root rot as well as LECA does. So let's start with the OG method of the Vase system. So this is a vase without drainage and it has a bunch of LECA in it with a low amount of water down below the root line. That is key. You have to have your water line down lower than your roots. And this Pothos Enjoy is really loving the LECA. As you can see, all these roots are searching for the water line down here. For the glare, I cut off the light. Look at how well the roots are doing. And we actually added in a wick here that goes down into the LECA, down to the water, and then naturally it wicks up the water just like the xylem and the phloem of your plant do to pull nutrients up to the top of the plant. This wick is gonna pull that water and humidity all through these rocks. And that's what you want. You want to have very humid rocks. And sometimes what I'll do is kind of like tilt the LECA pot off to the side to kind of swish around the water and bring that water up. But you do always want to encourage those roots to dive down and look for that water in the same way they do in landscaping and other environments. The plant is always diving down deep to look for that water. Many times plants and trees will actually tap into sewers that are 15 and 20 feet subterranean to find that water that's inside the sewer. So this is the classical way of keeping LECA in a vase. And you could up this one level by putting an air stone, but because we're running such a low water line, we don't really need that air stone to add back in that oxygen. Having such a low amount of water that we can constantly refresh, pour out, and put back in is important to keep that pH stable and that concentration of salts, the TDS in the water, or EC, the electrical conductivity, stable in the water. That's just the amount of salt or food that's in the water for the plant. So the one we've converted more to is actually the LECA Perlite system with drainage. This is a ton of drainage and it is a mixture of LECA and perlite. It's mixed in at 50-50. We've done a few different videos covering this. I feel like this is the most user-friendly way for you to grow LECA at home. The vases can get kind of gross with the algae. Our Adansonii video with the algae kind of pissed off some people and turned some people off, but that's what happens when water goes anaerobic and creates an environment that doesn't have a lot of oxygen in it. Algae is born then. So this is a great way to water about once a week. I'm really watering these every 10 days or so. It's getting kind of hot here in Southern California, but I tend to water these with an AB LECA nutrient solution, or you can use whatever hydroponic one you have at home. Just make sure it's not organic. It must be a chemical-based fertilizer that is synthetic, or else you'll just run into a lot of biological issues in the root zone. And also for that AB or whatever nutrient you're using, as you increase the amount of leaves on the plant and the light you're giving it, feel free to give it more nutrients. So you can scale up that amount of AB all the way up to 7 and 14 parts of A and B, or whatever amount you're using. You can go all the way up to the manufacturer full suggested amount on the back of that label, whatever it says. So that's the 50-50 LECA Perlite mix. I really love this one. And if you want to go super hardcore, this is like, you know, I would say the hardest version. This is pure LECA with drainage, so I'm getting a ton of oxygen into my root zone, which is the key for fast growth and to avoid root rot, and those go hand in hand. You're not going to have fast growth if you have root rot down in the root zone. So I have a lot of air through this pure LECA, and because it has such low foliage, this is an albo chunk that we rooted and we're now getting a shoot out of. I'm watering this only about once a week, and I am watering it with full strength nutrient because I'm running really high lights to keep this plant under it. But once these plants grow up a little bit more, I just put them in my automated system and I have them water about every 1 to 3 days depending on the season and really how hot it is in here. A fourth kind of bonus hybridized version is the version when you can't get all the substrate off of your roots. So say you start in an Aroid mix. This is a Tycon that we actually brought out of this Aroid mix tray because we selected it for its really beautiful colors. We think this is going to be a really special plant to mother and to take subsequent cuttings off of. But when we pulled it out, it had pretty healthy roots, but the roots had a bunch of Aroid mix attached. The roots had grown through the coconut husk. And since we couldn't pull those off, we then left on the chunks of coconut husk and we just planted inside with a mixture of LECA and then a little bit of perlite to dry out that area, and then surrounded the top and the bottom with LECA. So this is a good option when you can't remove all that substrate, because when you're going into LECA, another key thing is to get everything, all the stratum, all the perlite, all of the soil, everything off of those roots. Make sure they're clean, white, or even like a beige in color, and spray them off with a hose. That's really the best way to do it. But I hope this one does well. I'm gonna probably water this every like 2 weeks because it is a Tycon, and we found a bit of a more susceptibility to root rot. And just a little tidbit at the end for people that are interested in it. This is a Constellation, right? And this is a mint Monstera. I just made a short about this. This is also a mint Monstera in this hand. So call me crazy, but I feel like these variegation patterns are very similar. Mint here, Constellation here. Now, I found there's a lot of mintiness going on inside of my Constellation tissue culture. And also, one time when I ordered from Asia a bunch of mint tissue culture, what came were bags that said Constellation on them. And I asked the vendor, does mint come from Constellation? And they were like, no, not at all. But right, if you're the vendor of that, you would be like, absolutely not, because it's essentially the same plant. So this is a theory. I don't know. I'm just bringing it out to the community to see if anyone else has noticed really the slow growth pattern of this. This has been in LECA for 2 months. It's friggin' tiny, but also like so is this. So they're both very slow growing plants, kind of susceptible to root rot with very similar variegation patterns. And I'm also noticing, at least in my tissue culture, that I'm getting a lot of minting through the leaves of a Constellation. So just a little food for thought for people out there. Maybe share what you've experienced down in the comments. But these are the different ways we're growing in LECA here at Pretty and Green. And just keep in mind on the content that I'm creating, I'm gonna keep creating how-tos, I'm gonna keep creating plant documentaries. If I need to comment on things in the plant community, I'm going to do so. I'm trying not to be rude, genuinely, but when people come for my moral integrity, it does just bother me. So you can keep a lookout for more how-to content from us, as well as the plant documentary series and the deep dives we're trying to explore about different plants and where they come from and how plants came to exist in our homes. So thank you so much for watching this week's video and the previous videos. We truly do appreciate you. And we'll see you next week for another video about some plant drama. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.